All right, thank you for staying with us. Right now, we will be linking up with our Abuja studio where Eshomomo Imodu and Tijesu Adeoye are standing by. Good morning. How is Abuja this morning?
Yeah, good morning. Abuja, is, as usual, is calm this morning. I think we had a very nice weekend. So refreshed.
Obviously, the way you said it's a very nice weekend.
We'll have to switch roles so that you come to Lagos and let's see whether you have a very nice weekend as you do in Abuja.
Well, yeah.
We'll take you up on that, Ibrahim.
Yeah, we can work that arrangement out.
All right, take it away then.
All right, now, thanks everyone for joining us again on the show this beautiful Monday morning. And we are live from our Abuja studio here in the capital city. The political landscape is shifting as we approach the 2027 general elections. Across the country, strategic moves are intensifying with northern politicians playing a pivotal role in the unfolding power dynamics. What analysts are calling one of the most defining moments in recent political history. Key players in the north are reorganizing their camps to wrestle national leadership. In recent months, we've seen a flurry of alliances, defections, and high-stakes meetings across key states in the region. Political heavyweights, including former governors, former ministers, and influential leaders, are consolidating their influence to chart a unified strategy ahead of 2027. One major factor driving this realignment is the clamor for power to return to the north. Analysts suggest that this is fueled by the region's historical role in shaping national politics and its perceived underrepresentation in key sectors of governance in recent years.
Amid these maneuvers, there are growing speculations about the emergence of a consensus candidate from the region, possibly supported by a coalition of political parties. However, as these realignments unfold, questions about inclusivity, governance priorities, and national unity remains top on the minds of many Nigerians. With less than 2 years until the polls, the race for 2027 is already heating up, and the northern political class appears determined to leave nothing to chance. Will their efforts pay off? Only time will tell. And joining us as we welcome Senator Yusuf, who is a former federal lawmaker and will walk us through the political dynamics ahead of the 2027 general elections. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you in our studio.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, we are discussing the 2027 election and the possible realignments. As a seasoned politician as yourself and a former federal lawmaker, do you envisage a situation where big political actors can bury their ego, and work together for a common good? Because we didn't see that in 2023. Do you think they stand a chance this time around?
Well, thank you for this question. First of all, let me say realignments are not new in this country. Sure. They are not new at all because they are not ideological. They are individual based and also, electoral success based. So there's a tendency, for the big shot to say, well, the only way we can win is to bury our hatchets and get the electoral, benefit, of our alignment. So I see there will be a lot of continued realignment. The big shots are certainly. It has happened in 2015. It has happened in 2019. It will certainly happen again because it is not ideological based. If it is ideological based, then one would have said it, give it a different tone. It is not even regional because some people talk about the north, the east, the west. No, it is not. Intrinsic in that is personality interest, to cover, as I would say, people who, irrespective of their religious bias, ethnic bias, they will prefer to come under those orbits, but protecting their own judicial interests.
Now interestingly, there's a party in power, the APC. While this realignment is going on, the key opposition parties, the PDP, the Labour Party, and maybe the NNPP also, their individual camps are not settled. We're talking of realignment. 2025, 2027 is just around the corner. What do you think will play out, especially with the sectional politics that is being played up?
Well, you see, I am afraid if the politics is sectional, I think the politics is individualistic. Certainly. Because for NMPP, you don't hear any other name other than, His Excellency Senator Kwankwaso. For Labour, they are still battling with Obi. You only hear, His Excellency Obi. When you go to PDP, that's why, yes, you have factions. You have Mwike on one side, you have Atiku on one side, you have Fabora on one side, and the rest of it. But, all these things, where does it take us to? It still takes us to a realignment not on the basis of ideology, and therefore it becomes, not structural. It is alignment, based on tactics, not even on strategy. So that, we individuals must come together, to wrestle power for the sake of wrestling power, not for the sake of having, a development or improvement of democracy in this country. Because electoral success is not necessarily a democratic, success. So I think that is where we are at this point in time.
Well, I asked earlier if you think if there's a realignment, if they actually stand a chance to, take over power. But leaving that aside, the issue of the rights of who, has the rights to the presidency, either the North or the South. What is your take on power shift?
Well, thank you very much. We did that in 2015. We did that in 2019. We did that in 2023. And it's not going to be a new thing. We'll again do it in 2027. As far as I'm concerned, power shift, depends on what level of democratic principles we are imbibing in our people. For me, performance is what is most important. If the government is not performing, court and on court, then you will have a lot of issues to discuss about power shift. I could remember, when they were talking about power shift to the South, where the governors, of the North came and said, no, we cannot compromise, what we have used to do. So power must shift to the South.
You spoke about performance. Do you think the current administration has performed enough to end the trust of the electorate?
I think the problem is a basket of failures and a basket of successes.
Okay.
Politically, for me, I have not seen much success in what, this government is doing politically. Why do I say so? This is a government that came on the basis of the principles of, empowerment, principles of continuity, principles of adopting, the political parties, manifesto. It came with new, what do you call it, this idea of new things that, so it is also tied to an individual, that is tied to the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Remove Bola Ahmed Tinubu today. Remove him. What do you have? You don't have a political party. Because it is not based on ideology. It is based on individual. Remove Tinubu today. I'm telling you, you do not have APC.
Okay, if you remove Tinubu, but the fact also is on the ground that there are certain reforms that this government has initiated, and that for several years we've not had leaders that were courageous enough to introduce. We never had refinery work. Now we have refineries working. What are your thoughts with this?
Yes, that is why I said, that's why I decided to distinguish between the political and then the economic. Yes, there were some economic reforms, no doubt about it. The removal of subsidy, the floating of the naira, and these things were made, no doubt about it. And they have larger implication socially in this country. We are all experiencing that. Yes, there are some economic reforms. However, has that economic reforms translate into a political reform? Not yet. We are waiting to see it. That is why I said the political parties ought to have had national economic, council meetings, because these are the highest, highest, bodies of each political party that will give room to whatever challenges, whatever, things they are going to do. So that is why I said, if we make a difference, yes, there are some political reforms. I agree there are successes there, but certainly, from the political point of view, we are waiting to see what direction in which the reforms will take us to.
Now we're still talking about the power shift. There's this talk about, there's a growing anger from the North against President Tinubu, accusing him of favoritism. Do you think that President Tinubu still has the support of the North?
Well, thank you very much. The North cannot bring Tinubu and then destroy Tinubu. Mm-hmm. The North cannot do that. But what the North is trying to say, that look, we brought you to power, recognize, the benefits of bringing you to power. Nobody is against, these appointments of people who are credible. No doubt about it. But we have historical, antecedents. I was discussing with some people in my office the other day where they are saying, well, Tinubu's appointment is subsided because Buhari's appointments were also lopsided. But I always say, are we going for correction or we are going for, it is my turn? For Nigeria to move forward, we must begin to appreciate the fact that these appointments, once I come, then let my people have it. I don't think it's going to take us anywhere. In spite of the fact that, credibility or merit is the order of the day.
Distinguished, but there are still some appointments made by this government. If you look at the agriculture, somebody from the North. If you look at security also, majorly people from the North. But that is not my question. My question is, earlier you said we're talking about reforms. Are there alternatives that you, if you had an opportunity, would have taken, considering the decay in the system? At a time, a former Minister of Finance said Nigeria was borrowing to pay salaries. If you had that situation, what would you have done differently?
Well, fine. We are now going into political economy. And for me, the situation that we found ourselves in can easily be corrected, in my opinion, if we have the will and then we have the ability. For me, I sympathize with President Tinubu. I think he has the will. He hasn't gotten the ability. The ability is not there. Why do I say so? Even his cabinet, not all of them has actually imbibed into the heart of President Tinubu's, reform agenda. That is why there is a lot of disjoint between the monetary side of the economy, management, and the fiscal side of the economy. It's like every minister is doing whatever he wants. That is my opinion. I may be wrong, but I think this is where you mentioned agriculture. Okay, you mentioned other areas. For instance, if this economy that we want to diversify the economy to move, from oil. What is agriculture doing? What is solid minerals doing? What is small and medium enterprises doing? Are the policies of government targeted towards that diversification? For me, we had what, President Trump said. If you people are insisting on BRICS, dollarize your own economies, what I will do is to increase my tariffs.
Of course.
How are you going to protect this economy by the kind of tariffs that we have? For me, increase the tariffs. Certainly, yes. On what? On luxury commodities. Our marginal propensity to import is so high. Mm. And those propensities are going towards what? Towards luxury items. Look at us in this studio. What is made in Nigeria in us? None. So what are we waiting for? How do you protect your industries? We don't buy innocent vehicles. We buy, imported, Land Cruisers. How are we going to improve on the management of our economy if we continue to go by that? And then we have what we call, splurging kind of, expenditures in this country. We buy things that we do not need. It's splurging. This one is the individuals, the corporations, the government. We are all that. We have to begin to change our attitudes towards making Nigeria, okay, and not Nigeria, for foreign countries or foreign employment. I learned that Japan, their export on these vehicles have declined. I'm telling you that part of it is Nigeria because of the devaluation value of the Naira. Nigerians could not be able to import the kind of Japanese vehicles they were importing. So it is around the table. So for me, we can adjust this thing in no time. Look at your tariff structure. One, for me, I will even go to the extent, why are we having 1,000 Naira notes today? Why are we having 500 Naira notes today? Why are we having 200 Naira today? Why are we having them? What for? How many of our common people are holding 1,000 Naira note? How many?
So you think reducing the value of the Naira is an answer to the problem?
So, yes, I think the Naira is undervalued. Mm-hmm. Let us find how we can revalue our Naira. And we can revalue our Naira by attacking, what do you call it? If it means we can go into quota system, let it be. We know that we'll have problem with World Trade Organization, but we have to begin to believe in Nigerian solution, and not to depend on World Bank and IMF.
Okay,
let's talk about security. We've seen a resurgence of Boko Haram attacks, especially in the northeast. Let's take a look at the ambush of the Nigerian soldiers. What impression does this give to the fight against terror? Do you think the country is winning?
Well, it is a basket of challenges again. Why should it come up when we begin to have challenges with our neighboring countries? At the same time, we have challenges with our neighboring countries, and then we are, we are now appreciating, the foreign countries that they do not believe should remain with them. I was listening to someone say, who is financing this? Oh. You think this finance is coming locally? It's impossible.
So there's foreign influence, is that what you're saying?
Certainly there's foreign interest. And foreign interest because we have what? We have interest in our economic substructure.
But that is the issue. At the bottom of these economic issues, you talked about capacity of Trump when he said he's going to increase his tariff. Yeah. But whichever way, we need to improve our productivity. Agric is one way to go. You're from the north. The north is solid when it comes to agriculture. Does it bother you that we've not challenged ourselves enough to increase our production and also improve on the value chain, adding value to what we produce. Is that not a narrative we should begin to push to our leaders?
Well, certainly. I was listening to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture who was talking about they are going to import about 4,000 tractors. I feel that should not be the direction in which we should go. Now, how many of our common people will have access to the tractors? The land, just like what Mr. President has said during the Christmas break, he said, look, governors, I'm only helping you because you own the land. So if governors own the land, so governors must stand up, and that is why the issue of what I call consultative and cooperative federalism will come into play. So long as we do not have consultative and cooperative federalism between the vertically and also horizontally, we are not likely going to have a much success to that. So certainly, value chain, no doubt about it. We need to boost our production, but how can we do that? How? We are not producing fertilizer, we are importing fertilizer, we are importing inputs. Are we not supposed to even, look into that direction? We open our borders again, to importation, of rice and what have you. They now call it brown rice so that you can come and, add value to it. So there are so many issues, like I said, the fiscal side of the economy must coordinate very well with the monetary side.
So ahead of 2027, what are those narratives? Rather than just talking about sectional realignment, what are those narratives that should take the lead between now and that time?
Well, fine. You see, the economic management of the country must take precedence, because we have to look at how are we going to make palliatives. When I say palliatives, I don't mean, just take rice and give to people. No. Convince the people to be productive. Convince the people to be productive. Until you can do that, just by giving them rice, it's just like the saying that teach me how to catch fish is better than be giving me fish all the time. So this government, I should look into that direction. Make people productive. Okay, how do you do that? Simple. Let them partake, and not developing a gap between the rich and the poor, because it's widening. It's very, very widening. And so long as you continue to widen that gap, you are going to have a lot of issues.
I'll still take you back to the issue of security. What will you say are the likely solutions to this conflict that has festered for so many years? Do you think the Nigerian military has a grasp of the situation, and do you think they have the capacity, to stomp out this, brand of terrorism?
I'm sorry to be negative in this side. Why do I say so? Today, why are we just getting minimal success? Corruption.
With government or in the military?
So long as, whether it's government, institutional, and what have you, we fall into this trap of corruption. And so long as corruption strives, we may not succeed in the direction that we want. Simple. We need more military, more security. We need more equipment. We need more training. We need more welfare. We need all this. If we do not transfer resources out of corruption, we may not be able to provide this. And so long as we don't provide it, we'll continue to grow up in darkness in the area of providing security. And that will affect agriculture, will affect transportation, will affect, so many other things. And the government will continue to go round and round and round without, the actual, success in it. The budget is based on 2.06. Today, OPEC is talking about 1.2, 1.4. You think that we can achieve the 2.06?
Well, I'll cut you a bit here because we're running out of time. As former lawmaker as yourself, let me take you back to the National Assembly. I'm sure you're seeing, the back and forth with lawmakers and, them suggesting that some of the allocations made to some of these ministries and agencies are inadequate, and they are calling for more funding. Isn't this budget padding? Because a lot of people are worried that this budget, with these increments that we are seeing, it may be difficult to fund.
I talk about plunging the budget. For me, about 25 to 30% of the things we buy, we do not need them. So because we do not need them and we are still buying them, it's open to what? Fiscal irresponsibility, and it's open to, abuse, it's open to corruption. So many of these companies that they award contracts to, they award 1 million naira capital.
Okay.
A company with 1 million naira capital, you are giving a contract of about 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, 5 billion.
All right, distinguished. Well, sorry we could not finish this conversation because of time, but we hope to have you back in the studio once we have another time. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Yeah. Well, that's it from us in Abuja. Over to you in Lagos, Veronica.
All right, thank you to Jesu and Eshomomo for that interview. Of course, we've been seeing alignments ahead of 2027, and we can only wait to see what happens when the time comes. Thank you again.
Of course.